Today's story was written by Reddit user Bubbly95. Humanity reached for the stars. We always did. When the first Neolithic being looked up to the firmament with awe, our path was clear. One day, we would reach those distant lights and travel the emptiness that is space. It would take thousands of years, sure, but the more we learned, the faster we learned more. But with each invention, with each bit of knowledge, we made mistakes, terrible, world-shattering mistakes. We subjugated our brothers and sisters based on skin colour, faith, or which country they called home. We killed each other for riches, land, religion, or because of some contrived grievances of those who ruled. We invented weapons to kill, maim, and butcher each other faster and better. Then the world wars came. We unleashed horrors upon ourselves never seen before, be it the slaughter of thousands of men in the trenches, the gas attacks, or the merciless pounding of artillery. Be it the capture of whole nations in the matter of days and weeks, the brutal ideologies that drove the violence further, or the power of the atom itself. At the end of the Second World War, as the atrocities of the Nazi regime came to light, those that survived took a simple vow. Nie wieder. Never again. We reined ourselves in. Sure, conflict was part of our nature, and thus war would never die. But we refrained from the devastation we unleashed in prior times. We focused once again on the old dream, and made it into a competition. We made small steps and giant leaps. We researched, we worked together, we shared ideas, inventions and experiences. There were decades where the dream was slumbering, where our advances were small, but we advanced. And then the day came. Humanity's first interstellar craft was launched and fulfilled the old dream. The warp drive, as it was called, was put to the test. Finally, we reached the stars. Not long after, we solved the biggest riddle our scientists could not solve. Are we alone out here? The clear answer was no. This was nearly 5 centuries ago. Today we are part of the Confederation of Sapient Beings, the galactic union of every contacted spacefaring race. As we met other species, we grew together as a people. As we grew, conflict trickled away. But we remembered our past, our actions and our vows. But alas, peace was not meant to be. Emergency session of the High Council of the Confederation of Sapient Beings. Session was called by the United Human States. Topic: the loss of the whole Epsilon Eridani system. Murmurs and whispers filled the Grand Hall, the circular meeting room of the High Council, as the ambassadors and emissaries of the various races arrived one after the other. Emergency sessions were seldomly called. Finally, everyone who was meant to come had arrived. The Speaker of the Council stood, opening the session. Emergency session on behalf of the United Human States. Ambassador Stein, please step forward and present the cause. A slender middle-aged woman stood up from her seat. Ambassador Maria Stein made her way to the middle of the chamber, fierce fire in her eyes. She settled a few papers down on the podium as she reached it. Ambassadors, emissaries, and gentle beings, last Friday, on October the 19th, a battle fleet of the Umagdil conglomerate entered the Epsilon Eridani system, where multiple colonies, stations, and industrial outposts of the UHS were located. Said fleet refused every and all attempt at communication, but their intent became clear soon enough. For the first time in decades, weapons were fired in anger in UHS territory. She made a small pause, seemingly to compose herself. None survived. Shocked gasps and angry shouts came from the ambassadors on their seats. Meanwhile, the Umagdil emissary looked rather pleased. Ambassador Stein continued, "We do not know exactly how many perished in that unprovoked attack, but approximately 25 billion people lived in the Epsilon Eridani system, including about 3 billion sapient beings from other races." Those in the front rows of the Grand Hall could notice that the human woman had started to tremble. Some may have mistaken this as a sign of fear or grief or even despair, Locking eyes with the Umagdil emissary, she addressed the bulbous being that strangely resembled a toad from Earth directly. As of today, the United Human States are at war with the Umagdil conglomerate. What do you have to say? The emissary stood slowly while grinning widely. Do not call the extermination of your verminous ilk a war, Ambassador. Your elders will burn, your children will be fed to our young, your men and women will be worked to death in our mines. Humanity shall perish. Stunned silence filled the Grand Hall. It was known that the Umagdil and humanity were at odds, but none had expected these barbaric words from a dignitary. More and more eyes, antennae, and other sensory organs settled again on the stone-faced human. Silence spread until Ambassador Maria Stein spoke again. Long ago we spoke an oath, a vow we have held up since then, never to be broken, never to be forgotten, never again. Our mothers and fathers spoke, as they saw the attempted destruction of a people. Never again was a cry of the survivors. Never again. Her trembling hands were white as she held onto the podium. Those who thought her afraid realized now her trembling hands were not a sign of fear, but of rage. As this understanding spread through the Grand Hall, Ambassador Stein spoke again. We will break this vow. You threaten us with our extinction. You will face your own. You threaten us with the life of our sons and daughters. Yours will see no mercy. You threaten us with fire. You shall burn.